Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dishing with the Dono fans. My name is Cricket, your host, and my co host, Tracy. And we have a very special guest today, Caroline Fyffe, a USA Today's best-selling author known for her heartfelt, sweeping Western romances that transport readers to the windswept tears of 1800s America. Her breakout novel, Where the Wind Blows, launched the beloved Prairie Heart series and captured hearts with its story of quiet love, emotional healing, and second chances. A former equine photographer, Caroline brings authenticity, warmth, and a deep love for the land into everything she writes. Whether you're new to frontier fiction or a longtime fan, her stories feel like a hug from the past. And today, we are honored to have her with us. So, welcome, Caroline, to the podcast.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here, Cricket and Tracy. Thank you for inviting me. Um, what a better topic than to have, talking about Trevor and the movie and the book. I'm just so happy and honored to be here with you today.
Thank you so much. Yes, so we are going to go over a few things. We're going to ask a few questions. And then, of course, we want to talk about the motion picture movie that's coming this fall. And I know the Dono fans are so excited about this movie. We cannot wait. So, to jump right in, is there anything that you wanted to say up front before we get started?
Well, this journey has been a long one. I've just completed my 27th novel, which is shocking to me because it has just been each year one or two books, and it used to be two or three books, but I've slowed way down with grandchildren and all that, and it just is amazing that it's come to this full circle because I always had on my little prayer sheet at the bottom about a movie, if it be in the cards and be in God's will. So I'm really happy that has happened.
What is going to be the name of your new book?
My new book is book 5 of my Colorado Hearts, which is about the 5 sisters, 4 new lives on the Colorado frontier, and it is called Heart of Seasons. I'll just hold it up right there.
Nice.
So, and it's about the oldest sister who has been from the very beginning. Her arc started, right away. She had little sparks with the sheriff, and so she's been waiting for her happy ever after, and she hasn't gotten it, and all the sisters are wondering what's taking the sheriff so long. So finally she has a book that this should wrap up the series. I think I do believe this is it. So
wow, well, congratulations. That's amazing. I would love to write a book, but you've got 27. That just blows my mind.
I can't even write a paragraph, so
that's wonderful.
Well, I never knew I could write, really. I just was a big reader, and I just one day decided to give it a try, give it a shot, and it just seemed to flow for me.
Okay,
that's great.
So with your book and your novel, Where the Wind Blows, so yes. I know that's book 1 of your Prairie Heart series, correct?
And my very first book of all time.
Oh, okay. And your very first book ever. Okay. I know we did a book club before, but I couldn't remember everything that we had mentioned. So how did that start out? Like, how did you come to write that book? Because, you said you didn't know you could be a writer. So what influenced you to want to write that book?
Well, I was reading the prairie romances, the sweeter ones, and I just loved the honorable hero. And I've always been, I think I write heroes better than I write heroines, and because that's always what I've been drawn to. And I just wanted to write that. And my youngest son had just started kindergarten, so I had time, and I sit down. That's when it was like Word Perfect, if you can remember that old program.
Yes.
I was a secretary. I used that exclusively early on.
Exactly. So I sit down. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to see what I can do. And so I write like 3 sentences, and wow, this is kind of hard. Well, it's probably more like a couple paragraphs. There must be some rules to this because, transitions, and you have your point of view, which is your POV. And so I said, okay, if I really want to do this, I need to, educate myself a little bit. So I went to the bookstore and I found writing romances for dummies.
I love it.
And I looked at, I don't know if I ever really bought the book. I was skimming through it, and in the back it said, Romance Writers of America, phone number. And so, being a neophyte, I called up that number and I said, I'm really interested in writing a romance. And I cringe, and I just think of that wonderful, whoever it was who answered that phone didn't say, well, who doesn't? Go, blah, blah. And she was so kind. I wish I knew her name. And she said, well, where do you live, honey? And I said, in Lodi, California at the time. And she goes, well, let me think about this for a minute. There's actually a really fabulous critique group in that town. She goes, but I have no idea, if they're looking for members or anything like that, but I can put you in touch with one of the founding members. And really, that is all I really had to do, because those wonderful authors, Susan Crosby, Robin Bursell, Teresa Reagan. Actually, Teresa Reagan wasn't there yet. So it was Robin and Susan. I called, and they said, well, it's actually funny you call right now, because we are thinking about adding a new member, but let's all go out to lunch first. And so I think they wanted to see if our personalities could mesh, because in those days, we weren't doing it online critiquing. It was met in person in the back of a used bookstore. It was the most exciting day of my week. It was on Tuesday nights, and you had to bring 10 pages that you wrote that week before. And by me reading and then they giving their feedback, they really taught me pacing. She first read the first 10 pages. That was great. We loved it. Now you need to cut those pages and start here. Start at the action and start where Chase is knocking on the door, not telling backstory. Then take that backstory and then filter it through the first few chapters. So start at the action where there's something dramatic that's going to happen. She's going to open the door and find out her husband has been killed. So they were so wonderful to, take me under their tutelage and feed me along. And that's really what got me going and kept me going. And that's how it kind of started, and finished that first manuscript with them. And then started trying to shop it around, trying to get it published, and continue to write. I wasn't writing the sequel to that yet. I was writing, after I finished Where the Wind Blows, I realized writing a book in a cabin with 2 and maybe 3 characters, once Gabe comes along, and is a hard thing to do. Mm-hmm. That was hard. And I said, when I'm done, all right, well, that was really fun, but now I think I have 2 series, the McCutcheon family, that's the key word, and then the Prairie Hearts, which is more around the town of Logan Meadows. And so I said, I'm going to write a family. I'm going to have 5 siblings, 4 brothers and a sister. Mm-hmm. And there's always a bunch of stuff going on. So I started with the 2 people in a cabin, and you have to create conflict and tension and sweet moments, and with just 2 people. And that's for a beginning author, that was a hard thing to do. So anyway, so then I jumped into Montana Dawn, and that series actually is my longest. It has 12 books, so wow. It just keeps on going. It just keeps on. So anyway, that's kind of how it happened.
That's wonderful.
Like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how I felt, that it was meant to be. And a lot of prayer in that. And like I said, I do start my day with meditations and prayers and all that. And at the very bottom of that list that I would read every day was, Lord, if it be in your will, let there be a movie. And then the movie came really out of the blue. It came the day after Christmas. I got a text
Oh,
message.
wow.
I knew John prior from Lodi, and he was a budding um, director, editor when my first book came out, Where the Wind Blows. And so we kind of connected at that time. Nothing came of it. And then the day, 2023, the day after Christmas, I get this text, hey, Caroline, is that film rights still available to Where the Wind Blows? And I'm like, you know, it was
Right,
just
your
like
heart dropped.
Brett, Caroline, am I reading this? He said there was a independent producer who wants to make the movie, and am I interested, and can we chat? And that was, my family was arriving the day after Christmas. We didn't get to see them the day of Christmas. And I said, yeah, can we chat right now? And so we had past 15-minute phone conversation, and then my son and his wife and my grandchildren came, and I had my bottle of champagne on ice ready to go. There's always some in the fridge and we never drink it, so I finally got to pop that bottle. It was really great.
That is awesome. And to get it the day
great.
after Christmas, that is amazing.
Yeah.
That is so amazing.
Yeah.
Can you give us a brief synopsis of the book, Where the Wind Blows? So that
Sure.
way, when we ask our questions, they kind of coincide with our with your answer.
Okay, a quick synopsis. Well, Chase Logan is a drifter, he tumbles with the tumbleweeds. He doesn't set down roots because he's had in his past some disappointments to where he feels he's let everybody down. So he's out and about, and a friend that he's with, who happens to be Jesse's husband. Jesse is the heroine of the story. She's a strong, moral, really fabulous character. I love Jessie. And she just kind of keeps to herself in this little cabin on the outskirts of Valley Springs, because they moved to Logan Meadows later. So it starts off in Valley Springs. And so the book actually starts out when Chase is bringing her. You don't get to see what you get to see in the movie, but you wouldn't understand the movie. It's such a different medium. You've got to see some things. So when Chase comes, because you don't get to know his internal thoughts. When he rides up to the door in the book, he knocks on the door, he knows that he has to tell this woman that her husband is dead, but he just can't come out to the camera and tell those things. So we get to see a scene where Nathan actually gets killed, and how and why. And so now when Chase rides up to the cabin, we know that bad news is on the way. When he walks up and he's like kind of hesitant at the door, we know why he doesn't want to knock on that door. Anyway, he delivers the message. Jesse is kind of like in shock, and so she doesn't say too much, and he's kind of like, what's going on? And he expected tears, and that's not happening yet. But so she feeds him. And at that point, she kind of breaks down, and he comforts her. And then he's reluctant, because he's a good man, to leave her alone, just after losing her husband. So he wants to know if there's somebody that he can tell for her. So anyway, it goes along, and they're in this cabin, and Mrs. Hollyhock comes along, her good friend, and kind of facilitates a shotgun wedding in a nice way, because she knows that she feels that Chase is a good man, and Jesse needs somebody strong and handsome like Chase to be in her life. And so it goes on from there. I mean, I could go on for
no, just to give a little brief.
Perfect.
That was
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yes.
So the slow burn between Chase and Jesse is beautifully paced. How did you strike the right balance between historical accuracy and emotional intimacy?
Hooking those two up wasn't too hard, because she just lost her husband. And so you really couldn't have, in the script at one point, actually, when I was first reading it, she thinks of him as very handsome. And I'm like, that's not how my person acts because she just lost her husband.
Mhm.
You know, she has to be, so that really kept them at a slow pace.
Mhm.
And I think that would be in contemporary or historical
Yeah.
if you're not like,
Yeah.
I think it would be in both if you want to write an accuracy for
Mhm.
the intimacy where how it plays out. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question is, Chase is a strong, silent, emotionally complex man. We know this. How did you approach writing a romantic hero who's deeply guarded, but he's still deeply good?
that's a really great question. But I've always feel like deeply guarded is always so much better than loud, verbose. You know, that to me, deeply guarded is always very attractive. And so almost all of my heroes are deeply guarded. And then the heroine has to get in there and draw them out a little bit and show them what they're really feeling and thinking slowly and bring them along. And I do have one character who's less deeply guarded, and he was actually very fun to write. I could be way more playful with him because deeply guarded isn't too playful until you get very secure in a relationship. And I could see that in the movie as it went on, and Chase and Jesse were a lot more playful with each other than being deeply guarded, and they definitely were deeply guarded in the beginning. So yeah, I think
Okay.
that's how.
Do you feel like Trevor in his role as Chase, do you feel he portrayed that being so guarded and but then came out of his shell later? How did you think he did?
He absolutely did. He actually blew me away because I was used to seeing him in some of his other roles on, his contemporary movies on TV where he is playful and he's talkative, or he's the businessman, or he's the doctor, and he has to be really out there. Well, Chase isn't like that. And when he comes in the cabin for the first meeting and he has to go up, remember, Jesse's at the sink, and that's when she kind of breaks down, and he was eating at the time, and it surprises him, and he gets up and he doesn't quite know if he should put his hand on her back, and and what's your name, Mrs. Strong, and it was just delivered really beautifully, and very guarded, very tender, and he really is a great cowboy. He looks the part so well. I had seen him in the contemporaries, and then when I found out he got the role, was chosen, that I went and I was looking for some cowboy roles, and he was in that Texas Rising, if
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen it, of course, and how great he looked on a horse, and he had his suspenders. So I was secretly hoping that he was going to be wearing suspenders. And I'm not sure if I said that to Ashley Elaine, Jesse, at one point, just in conversation before everything was uh, getting going. He absolutely portrayed the tenderness without being like shy. He just had it. He nailed it. And so did Ashley. She did a fabulous job. I'm proud of them both. I can't wait for the movie to come out and have my readers see it, because I think they'll really like it.
That's awesome. Yeah, we all love Trevor as a cowboy, and I think he's also mentioned he loves playing the roles of cowboys, and so
He said that in an interview that
Mhm.
was his genre to play. I'm like, wow, that's great. Really liked hearing that, because I like to see him kind of roughed up. And then when he gets cleaned up at the cabin, I actually have Chase in the book shave, and I was kind of like, I don't put my input or anything in there or anything like that. So, oh gosh, he's going to shave now. He did not shave. He took a bath and did all this stuff, that you get a little glimpse of in the film, but he didn't shave. He looked really good, really rugged. Let's just say, really rugged.
Oh, good. I'm so excited.
You guys
Not gonna lie, I'm feeling like so jealous.
I
Like
know,
it would have been nice to
right?
be there to see all of.
I forget that you two haven't seen it, and so
Yes.
there's like lots of scenes that you're going to love.
We're so
Or
excited.
burst into flames. I'm not sure which. I think the Western genre for him, it needs to happen because I think it really does match his talents very well. And we haven't really, except for like with this role we'll show on Texas Rising, this will be it would be great to see him take a deeper dive into those quieter sort
Yeah.
of roles because I think he would kill it.
Mhm.
Kill it.
Here's a funny story that shows, because in my books, my heroes are very honorable.
Mhm.
They wouldn't, lie, cheat, or whatever. They will kill somebody when they absolutely need to kill them. That's the West. So there is killing and all this kind of stuff. But, they're good people. And the first day I was there, which was the second day of filming, and you'll see Jesse's cabin. Well, there's this hill that goes up the backside behind, and it was the fastest way to the parking lot. And we were out there so long, and Michael said, "That's my husband. Okay, I think we should go." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in agreement with that." And so we could have walked this long way around, or we could go up this pretty steep embankment that's about 15 feet. And so I'm thinking, Michael's like, "Okay, let's go." And I'm thinking, it had been raining on and off all day, on and off. Beautiful, but it makes the movie gorgeous. Clouds, dark, light, it's beautiful. And I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, I can do this. Well, and I did have to put on my, the day I went out in nice shoes, and then I had to go get my hiking boots on because it was so muddy. So,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to go up there, and I get going, and there's no turning back because it's steep. You can't. And I'm like, okay,
Committed.
Michael, your hand, And so Michael reaches back and he kind of tugs me up and stuff like that. And then at the top of that hill is a barbed wire fence. And so Michael's going through, and all of a sudden Trevor is there because I think he thought maybe I'm overthinking this, that I was going to tumble backwards. And he saw beforehand, and he got there and he lifted that fence up. I'm like, oh, thank you very much, and here he was. And
That's so
out of
sweet.
the blue, the honorable cowboy saved the day. So
Aw.
That's on brand for him actually. When we were at the Raise the Rough charity event in March, an older gentleman, after he had gone up on stage as part of this, I think it was a best dressed contest or something, he stumbled and Trevor was right there and grabbed him and helped him before he like fell all the way down. And I mean, he was there, but I feel like instinctually he just, made sure
I
that he
think
didn't get hurt.
that
So,
kind of brain is always thinking ahead. What
yeah.
if this guy stumbles? What if she slips down this hill? What if this? What if that? And he averts a catastrophe before it happens.
But yes, we want to see more cowboy roles from him for sure. All
Yes.
right, Miss Tracy, I think you are up next.
You are correct. Um, if Jessie was alive today, what kind of person would she be in the modern world? Do you think she would still be drawn to someone like Chase?
As the series goes forward, you really get to see her blossom. Of course, in this first book, it's them getting together and working out their life as a couple. And are they going to stay? Are they not going to stay together? And this kind of thing. But when the series goes on, she's always there in the background. Both of them are all the way through this series. And, if people really like their characters, they'll get, especially the second book, they're like half usually you bring back other characters, but they don't have a huge role. Well, they do have like half the book of a role because of Sarah.
Mhm.
And so I'm not going to tell you what that is, but anyway, she would be helping. She helps the downtrodden. She makes sure they get food. So she would be definitely a charity worker, a person out there, thinking of everybody else before she thinks of herself. And that's what Jessie would be. And so maybe she'd be a social worker or, something like that. That's what I think she would do. And she would, of course, she would be attracted to somebody like Chase, even in the modern world.
Yeah, that question was interesting because people always want to know, like, because books are set back in the day, but then if you were to fast forward and they had to come to the future, would they still be that same person? Would they be more independent? Would they want to have a relationship? So I pretty much assumed the same thing too. So, but yeah. The next question we have is, how do you balance the romantic tension in a historical setting where modesty and the societal norms were so different from today's expectations?
Well, I just go in how I think it would be back then, which was way more stricter, way more chaperoned and all that. I remember my first editor with Dorchester, and it was Montana Dawn, and one of the girls kind of got kicked out of her family because she got in the family way. Of course, she did marry the McCutcheon, but the editor said, "Would that be such a big deal?" And I'm like, yes, back then it would be. Back then it would be. They kind of disowned her, but that is kind of strong. And hopefully, maybe back then she would have had an understanding family, and maybe not. But in this story, it was. And so I just kind of stick with that and just try to follow how each one would react. And I do have plots where it's not that strict like that, and they do go on. And so I just try to, whatever actually the character is telling me, because a lot of these times the characters kind of write their own story. I just have to kind of like put them there, and then they start going, and rarely do I have to make a course correction, like if they were too frisky too soon, because they just don't do that, because my books they just work into it and take a really slow burn, and not to say they're not attracted, and they definitely, and they talk about it. So that kind of a thing. But yeah, they're a little bit slower burn. And I just think that's actually the way it was. Yeah. And maybe I'm all wrong, and they were whatever, jumping in the wagons together. Right? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I feel like that's pretty, just from my own understanding of history, and I'm a history lover. I think that's pretty spot on, just what I've come across.
Yeah. I think nowadays the slow burn romance is missing from a lot of the movies. Especially like, the more family oriented movies, we don't see a whole lot, which is fine. But I always feel like if they had that slow burn romance to incorporate into, the situations with the relationship and the couple, that it would still bring that passion, and it would still bring that.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Yeah, you're so right. I never thought about that. But a lot of the newer family or type stuff, you don't get to see, like a hand touch or whatever too much. It's mostly geared around the kids and all that. So, but you can put it in, and that is life.
Yes.
That's really what keeps this world going, is that slow burn, in everything.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, Miss Tracy, do you have any other questions?
Do you have any plans to venture into contemporary romance at some point, or do you really want to stick with the historical romance?
Well, I do. And if it happened, it would be like descendants of the McCutcheons. So the people who love the McCutcheons, or if it could go to the Prairie Hearts too, and it could be Chase and Jesse's and those kids that come along, and then put them into a contemporary, and they can talk about their ancestors, things you don't know happened from the book because it's down the road, and it could kind of be, really interesting. Oh, so-and-so got, killed in a stampede, and that would be really heart-wrenching, or something like that, So it would be fun to do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So as far as the movie, we know the production, it's already been filmed. We know it's already done, and we're just waiting on a release date. Yes. And it's supposed to be sometime this fall. And that's pretty much all we know, to be announced, pretty much is what it says when you look it up online.
Yeah, exactly right.
And we know, like you've talked about John Shimke, he's the one who directed it. Yes. And you also the screenplay alongside him with Mike Madden as well, correct?
Yeah. Well, how it was Mike and John wrote this script quite a few years ago, way back when the book first came out. And when he optioned it from Dorchester, it was only a 6 month span, and John was new. Now he has 14 years under his belt and he has all these connections. And so what it was it was a too long. It really needed to be like 108 to 10 pages. And so John and I cut it down. And when you cut it down, it's very sad. You have to cut it down and you have to take out certain scenes. Well, when you take out a certain scene, then you have to rewrite to make it flow, because now this is not happening. And so now what happens to get them from point B from point A kind of thing. And so we worked on that and we did a couple rounds of that. And that was so hard to do because you don't want to see that go. Mm-hmm. And then after it's filmed and you see the rough cut, and then those rough cuts then you're in love with the rough cuts. And that has to be trimmed. I'm like, not that scene.
Oh no.
And it's like,
oh my gosh, that's like heart-wrenching. Not only to cut it from the script, but then to cut it from the movie itself after you've seen it. Yes. Oh my gosh, that would be hard. That would be very hard.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, it is. It's sad,
so what was your first impression of John's vision when he came on board? Like, did he give you like an idea of what he was thinking he wanted it to go?
I liked the vision, and he wanted it, my book, it could have gone either way. It could have been like bright but he did not want that. And I was really glad. He wanted it kind of dark, realistic. What would I compare it to? Like, anyway, darker, more realistic, the people are kind of hardish looking or long hair, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Not all cleaned up and fancy like that. And it turned out really well. They did such a good job. You'll see like the inside of the cabin during the wedding scene. They put the light through. This is all, in a sound studio. So it's created to match the outdoor cabin that they built. And they shone a light through the window. They misted this stuff into the air. And so that looks like, dust motes. And so it's because in an old cabin that is dusty, it would be like that. And so the whole, especially the cabins, the scenes in the cabins are beautiful like that, really gorgeous. So he pulled out all the stops, and it's a beautiful film. And I can't say enough about it. I think he did a great job. I think he's a great director and producer and all that. Ashley was fabulous to work with and getting everything done. She's one of the producers. And so all really good.
Okay. Tracy, did you have any questions in reference to the movie at all?
I can't think of any.
So Caroline, since it's a historical piece or a movie, or it's set back, back in the 1800s, I'm sure that there was a lot of like costume, wardrobe, designs, that you may have had presented to you. Did you think that they reflected the time period as well as you would think, given this day and age?
I was really so delightedly shocked on how fabulous they were, and the sketches were beautiful, and each character had about 4 or 5 outfits that they would wear. Like Jessie had her work dress, and then she has a little outfit that she travels in when they travel, and Sarah has a couple different dresses. When she shows up from the orphanage, she's in this baggy little thing, almost like a nightgown, and each one was very authentically researched and sewn with love and care. And Trevor's shirts were so awesome, and then he has his suspenders on, and then his leather duster. I mean, you can't get any better than that. And so he shows up kind of like in this off-white shirt, and then towards the end of the film, he has a shirt that's like that, but in the blue, and then the women have some blue on, because that's more kind of a tendency towards family, that showed that he was a loner before and now he's part of the family. And it really makes kind of like a subliminal little message going on there. The costumes were great, and they were really beautiful, surpassed any thought that I had about them.
I can't wait. So I guess for me, the only other questions I have is I know it's the movie's not coming out yet. We don't know when. There were some other characters that are known to some of the viewers and different things, Dono fans as well. One of the characters is Rob Mays. He plays, I think, the outlaw. The he's one of the villains, correct?
Yes, he's Lonnie.
He's Lonnie.
He's
Okay.
he was great, and he was vicious when he needed to be vicious, and he was scary when he needed to be scary. I mean, he did a great job acting that part, and really took me back. You know, the confrontation in the mercantile,
Mhm.
Hollyhocks mercantile, and they had to film it and film it and do it again, and you know, that was really hard for Ashley because, you know, that's like, it is confrontation, and you're having to put yourself in that, you know, that situation to be kind of like accosted, you know. So and then Michelle Hurd, who's Mrs. Hollyhock, did just a fabulous job, especially that scene. That's a very, really, really awesome scene. Yeah, yeah.
Now, did you have any favorite scenes in the movie? I know you can't divulge too much, but was there any
Yeah,
scene that really stuck out in your mind once you saw the take back or whatever?
there's quite a few. And I love the close up in the wagon when they're driving along, leaving Valley Springs, going to Logan Meadows. And she's explaining, that's when she explains about her past. In the book, she explains it right after she was accosted and they're riding to town, but that all got switched because all those little tiny scenes from the book got cut out. And so they're side by side on the bench, and they, you know, he's listening and he's listening. He's a good listener. And he looks off and you can just see what he's thinking. And she's kind of telling him of this past that she has that's a little bit racy, you know, and is very touching. And then they say a cute little thing. I don't want to ruin it for you, but the interplay was really cute and really good, and the lines were delivered perfectly. And then another scene I love, of course, was the loft, in the loft when they finally make love. They are married, and it is a really touching how they speak face to face. They both did a fabulous job. I want to see the reaction, you know, critics and stuff. I think they did a really, really good job. And then my third scene I love is the one I'm in. And if you don't look quickly, you will miss me. But rolls into Logan Meadows. I'm the little lady walking down the street in a burgundy skirt, and when you first, it's like a half a second. Okay, so you will miss it. The wagon's coming down the street, and the camera's really focused on Jesse and Sarah looking around and all this stuff, and so I'm out of focus, but you do see me. And then the camera changes and it's filmed from the other direction. And then I'm walking away and I am in focus, but it's my backside. So anyway, I do have a part in the film.
That's awesome. It's great that they were able to put you in there too, because
Yeah.
I think, having your book, written and then it made into a movie, you'd had to be in the movie. You just have to be.
Oh, there's one other part. You won't see me, but I'm there. When they're going, when Frank Lloyd says, Mrs. Strong, are you ready to see your new house? And she's like, yes. And then you get to see the wagon again up close kind of this time, and it's traveling along a road. And my husband and I were walking down the road, and all of a sudden I hear, get out of the shot. I'm like, oh, and he said, run on the side of the road. So we dash over and we lay down in the grass. So the wagon comes by, and the camera at this point can't see Trevor and Ashley because it's shooting behind, but I can see them, and they're like, hi down there, and we're like laying in the grass. So it just was such a fabulous whole time that it's coming up right now. It was June 17th. So I just wish I could relive it over and over.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a wonderful experience. I had so much fun, and people treated me so fabulously because I wrote the book. Oh, you're the author. And I had some extra copies of the mass market paperback, which was
Mhm.
little when it first published with Dorchester.
Mhm.
And I had like a carton full, and I brought it to the sound stage, and I gave them to everybody, and I signed it for them for working on the film. So,
Oh,
and
Oh,
I
that's cool.
asked everybody to sign my a copy. I should have had it out to show you, but I took a Where the Wind Blows, and I had them sign. Oh, I just missed a couple of the. Rob was one of them, and C. Thomas Howell, I missed him getting his signature, but everybody else, I got their signatures on the book. And maybe if we have whatever, if I see them again, I'll get their signatures.
oh, that's so nice.
It's
Nice.
so exciting to see Thomas Howell is in that because I've been watching him in movies the
Yes.
80s. My goodness.
He
Oh,
his part is short, but he was
yeah.
awesome. And the other people that had been being considered and all this stuff, and we didn't get them, we didn't get them and stuff. I don't think anybody could have done it as C. Thomas
Mhm.
Howell was fabulous. That voice, Chase, bartender, give me a bottle. It's so cool.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see this movie. I'm so excited.
That word I was searching for
Oh, yes.
was atmosphere. And
Yes.
great atmosphere. That is something, yes. And that was what got sprayed into the cabin. So
Yeah.
just to correct myself, that could not pull that word out at the moment.
Very
It
frustrating.
was come later, when it's too late.
I know, right? Always comes out like that. Well, I'll put a little caption in there and
Yeah,
say he came back and rung the right here. She said it correctly now.
yes,
She was
yeah,
talking.
yeah.
Just
That'd
had
be
to
good.
come to her. If there's anything else that you wanted to talk about, Caroline, we just wanted to keep it short and sweet with you, and we'd love to keep talking with you. But again, we know you're busy, and Dono fans are going to be so excited to see this, though.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of the excerpts that you're kind of telling us, and
Mhm.
we
What I Well, let me just list off these fabulous actors. I just want to say how
sure.
thankful I am that of course, Trevor Donovan and Ashley Elaine and Michelle Hurd, she's fabulous. Don Swayze, fabulous.
Mhm.
Lachlan Monroe, you'll know him. He's been in so many plays. Rob Mays, Colin Egglesfield.
Yeah.
He had he was the worst brother. And when he meets him out at night with the campfire, he is really frightening. Cole Karagakos is Gabe. Sarah is Harper Thomas, and Gabriel Clark is Sheriff Tom Edwards, and Walter Running Acre is our Indian on the horse. So I hope I didn't miss anybody, but a shout out to all those actors. And I feel like they just really put their heart and soul into this movie, and it was a joy working with them.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully the second book in the series that you said has Chase and Jesse and Sarah in it, maybe they'll cast Trevor again. So maybe we'll get to see him in a second.
Oh, I hope that happens. We have to hope and pray.
Yes.
Cross my fingers.
Yes. Oh yeah, my toes, my fingers, my arms. What else you want?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Caroline, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was such an honor to have you here. And like I said, the Dono fans I know are going to be so grateful that you came on here and we got to talk with you today. So we look forward to seeing this movie, and we are all so excited. So you'll probably see a lot of posts coming out when the movie gets closer, and we'll make sure we tag you in it as well. Do you
Mhm.
have what is your Instagram? Do you know what your Instagram?
My Instagram is just Caroline Fyffe.
Okay. So if anybody wants to reach out to you or
Yes.
tag you,
Yes.
they can. Okay. Perfect.
Thank you so much for having me, Cricket and Tracy. It was so much fun, and I knew it would be easy with you two. You just fill in for all the spots when I can't remember, so that's wonderful. So thank you so much. It's been a joy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again. And you never know, we may have to have you back on in the future when that second movie comes out. So
That'd be
just
great.
throw it out in the universe right now. So
Yes, good vibes going.
exactly. Well, have a wonderful evening, Caroline. And I know we'll talk soon. Okay.
All righty. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. I hope your heart is still riding high after that beautiful conversation with Caroline Fyffe. Whether you're drawn to the strength of Jesse, the quiet loyalty of Chase, or just the windswept freedom of the open plains. We hope Where the Wind Blows inspired you as much as it inspired us. If you love this episode, leave a review, share it with your book loving friends, and tag us in your favorite quote or moment. Until next time, keep turning pages and trusting the wind to carry you exactly where you're meant to be.